Guys, this should be hopefully a quick revision on the topic of trade blocs. So, a trade bloc is a group of countries that have agreed to promote free trade within them. So there's freer trade within the trade bloc. So that's a lack of tariffs and quotas with the countries that are within the trade bloc. But also, it can mean increased protectionism against countries outside the trade bloc. So, a few examples. The EU. The EU is the trading bloc that's gone the furthest down this route of reducing trade barriers. So, within the EU so-called single market, there is free trade, free movement of labour and capital, which means not only are there no tariffs and barriers applied to goods moving across borders within the EU, there's also free movement of workers. So a German person can go and work in France without a visa. There's free movement of capital. So if I'm an Italian company, I can go and build a factory in France, and there are no restrictions placed on that, basically. Free movement of goods, people, labour, and capital, sort of the means of production. So that's a long way down. The Association of Southeast Asian Economies, very fast-growing free trade area. I don't think there's been complete removal of all trade barriers, but they're certainly an exciting area and looking to promote more free trade. There was a free trade area called NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. That's changed into USMCA. And that is under review at the moment. And there are many, many other trading blocs in the world as well. These are the ones that are mentioned specifically on the Edexcel spec. So the features of trade blocs. So we've got reduced trade barriers, okay, within the trading bloc, okay. So freer movement of goods, services, potentially people as well. But crucially, there are common external trade policies as well, okay? So that countries outside the trading bloc are subject to potentially what's called a common external tariff, where if I'm, say, Nissan, a Japanese car manufacturer, okay, it doesn't matter which EU country I'm putting my Japanese cars into, my Japanese manufactured cars, they're all subject to the same trade bloc, okay? So the impact of trade blocs is often more trade with countries within the trade bloc and less trade with countries outside the trade bloc. So an advantage, and we'll come on to these in a minute, but an advantage of joining the trade bloc is I get cheaper supplies from other countries within the trade bloc. But let's just say as a business, I had a great relationship with a country outside the trading bloc. My government joins the trade bloc, suddenly I might find I've got a tariff imposed on those goods that I'm importing from outside the trade bloc. Okay, so what are the pros to businesses operating within the trade bloc? Well, let's focus on revenues. You've got a bigger potential market, okay, because fewer trade blocs means it's easier to trade abroad, more customers, more sales, more revenue. On the cost side, I should benefit from economies of scale. I should hopefully be able to access more suppliers within my trade bloc, driving down my costs of materials and so on. Not only these, I'm protected against competition from outside the trade bloc. So European car manufacturers, because of the common external tariff, are protected against those Japanese car manufacturers. American car manufacturers, etc. Also, you can argue there's more competition from within the trade bloc, and whilst that's not always good for businesses, actually it can be a real incentive for businesses to invest, get themselves better, become more efficient, meet customer needs better, and so we can have that as an advantage of joining a trade bloc. On the other side, there are some costs to joining a trade bloc. We might get more. There's going to be more competition. Okay, so if I was a country that wasn't in the EU, okay, I'm subject to competition from businesses within my country, but there might be a tariff applied to all imports. I join the EU, suddenly that tariff is gone for EU member states, and I'm subject to more competition from inside the trade bloc. As I mentioned earlier, if I'm doing loads of importing from outside the trade bloc, because of the common external tariff, I join the trade bloc, and suddenly, that great relationship I had with a Japanese manufacturer is, well, the imports will get more expensive because I have to apply the common external tariff. Okay, one of the impacts of trade blocs is that it might encourage FDI. Okay, so if the EU joins a trade bloc, and there's that common external tariff applied. Okay, Nissan might want to avoid that common external tariff. So what do? They come and set up a business within the EU, because even if you're a multinational headquartered in Japan, as long as I'm manufacturing within the trade bloc, that common external tariff can't be applied. So a risk of trade blocs to businesses is it might mean that they have to do FDI to access those customers in trade blocs around the world. All right, and that can lead to diseconomies of scale, communication difficulties, etc. And finally, we can find countries outside the trade bloc applying retaliatory trade barriers. Okay, as you know, one of the things about joining a trade bloc, free trade within, but less free trade outside the trade bloc. Okay, that can lead to retaliation.